Thank you. Well, you guys know me. First things first. Good 10 years before the First Amendment. New Hampshire Constitution, Part 1, Article 22. Free speech and liberty of the press are essential to the security of freedom in a state. They ought therefore to be inviolably preserved. So our Attorney General is beholden to this document. Secondly, if you're going to contact the Attorney General's office, contact the Attorney General, the boss. And you can find, I don't have it off the top of my head, but go to the state website, government, agencies, Attorney General's office, and contact Gordon MacDonald.
Well said.
I find it interesting as a journalist myself, or a retired journalist, that they claim that you're not a journalist. And on what grounds do they say that? Also, in an era when everybody walks around spilling their personal life over their cell phone on the street or in planes, hasn't the concept of invasion of privacy changed somewhat?
Yeah, I think that's a very, that is the fundamental question that you hear is, well, not a journalist, not a journalist. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter what word you use to describe the person doing the activity. What matters is the activity the person is doing. That's what the First Amendment in your state, or what you just, what's that? 22. Article 22 is dedicated towards behaviors, not towards a priesthood-like protected class of group status people. That's really what this comes down to. Privacy, again, I think what I said earlier is that when you choose to live in a society whose fundamental values are freedom of the press, you sacrifice a little bit your rights to not be broadcasted when you speak with people and do bad things. So when this man commits a felony, Class B felony, again, I think he forfeits his right not to be broadcasted. This is not a new idea or a controversial idea. This is what makes us America. If you want it to be different, then you have to sacrifice those First Amendment rights. You have to get rid of them. If we don't want to live in a society where we risk not being broadcasted after committing crimes. So I think, though, that in America what's happening now, and maybe it's happening in your state as well, is that people don't no longer agree on those core values. They don't actually believe in the First Amendment. Not in the abstract, they don't. They are so polarized, and they're so focused on the political consequence that they're willing to sacrifice those values to achieve whatever end goal that they have. And by the way, that happens on both sides. It mostly happens on the left, but it sometimes happens on the right. And I was getting whiplash seeing people's perception on WikiLeaks. You know, you like them, you hate them, you like them, you hate them, you like them, you hate them. I mean, it's just, you should not, your principles should not change. You should not change your principles. And the reason that this is happening is because we're changing our principles. And I'm not talking about superficial principles. I'm talking about whether you should jail journalists because you don't like what they're publishing. This is pretty fundamental. Emotion over fact, but it's equality before the law. It's the equality of persons before the law is the most fundamental of American principles, and I've seen in my own life that my rights have been pillaged, I have been persecuted, my journalists have been prosecuted because the people don't like what they're exposing, and nobody cares. So I think that in this country we have a conflict of visions about this issue. It is the most important issue. Yes, this is about voter fraud, but I think what your Attorney General did is it brought the greater issue into bear, which is the conflict that I'm talking about. And I think that it'll happen over and over again. But I can't show these people, we can't show these people that we're afraid. We can't show these people that we're stopping. We have to keep going. We have to keep pushing. And I get sued a lot, and I never settle the lawsuits. Not once. I will never give them $1.
And God bless you. Thank you. I'm Rick Peralt, Mona's happy husband. My question is, if you in fact, as an individual, know that somebody has committed a Class B felony, aren't you supposed to present those facts? I mean, I don't know if that helps you.
Sure. I walked into your Secretary of State's office to present those facts. The Secretary of State called Ann Edwards inside the Attorney General's office. I walked over to the Attorney General's office and sat in the lobby to present those facts. And I was called back 15 minutes later to present those facts. And I was delivered a grand jury subpoena into my journalistic organization. That is what occurred. So I proceeded. I tried to be Mr. Smith Goes to Concord. I tried to present those facts. I've been trying to present facts for 10 years. We're proud of you. And that's what it, you know.
So if there are no more questions, I'd like to ask a question. You mentioned that you are building an army of people to help you with this.
Yes.
If people are interested in becoming more involved with exposing voter fraud, exposing corruption, there's some people here that they can work with.
Yep.
Ed Nail in New Hampshire has done a great deal to expose voter fraud and continue to do that. But how can people help to support Project Veritas and the work that you're doing?
Well, we have an initiative called the Be Brave campaign. You can go to our website, projectveritas.com, and there's a tab there where if you want to be an undercover reporter, if you have information, there's two men sitting in the back of the room over there, Marco, Spencer, and they work with me. And you can talk to them, and they're here for you. So if you guys know people who know people, I mean, there's a lot of presidential candidates roaming around here this time of the year, so we're asking them questions. We're asking their campaign questions. There's a lot of Hugo Palmas in New Hampshire this year. There's a lot more waste, fraud, and abuse. It's a target-rich environment. And there's not really many people doing investigative work. Certainly Ed is doing it. A lot of you guys are doing a lot of wonderful things. But if you want my assistance, my resources, my help, the two men in the back of the room there can talk to you. I can talk to you after this is over. So thank you very much for allowing me to tell my story, and I will see you all later.
QaA TV.